Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Difference Makers podcast. My name is Jefferson Noël. I am a professor at Florida International University, a four-time published author, a speaker, a Gear Up and Trio presenter, and I simply believe that we, difference makers, educators, we are transforming the world by transforming the lives of students. I encourage you to share this video with your colleagues, share it with a friend, because this will be inspirational and you will learn something new.
Giving kids the opportunity to have books.
I can eat candy.
Your students may not say it, but they are watching you. They're watching what you say. They're listening to how you say it. They're watching how you interact with other students and how you interact with your colleagues. And so I'm delighted, I'm excited to be sitting down with a difference maker who is transforming students here in Alabama. Her name is Letariel Emanuel. She is the director of Trio Support Student Services at Bishop State Community College, and she is affectionately known as Miss Terry. Okay, so Miss Terry, how are you doing today? How are you doing?
I am absolutely wonderful, Jefferson. It's such an honor and a pleasure to be on this podcast today, just to share more of what I feel like has made a difference in the hundreds of student lives that I've been able to pour into over the past really 15 years of being in higher education.
Whoo, I love that. And the hundreds of students that you have poured into, they will go on and pour into the lives of hundreds of people. And so the wave that you have made over the past 15 years is probably much larger than you can even imagine. And I know you have a very big vision. So if it's larger than that, then it's world changing. And so can you tell the good people more about who you are and what you do at Bishop State?
Yes, absolutely. Again, I am Letariel Emanuel, and like Jefferson said, affectionately known as Miss Terry, and I am the project director at Bishop State Community College for the Trio Student Support Services Program. And if you don't know about Trio, a little background, Trio programs are a federally funded program that provides academic, counseling, cultural enrichment, four-year campus visit, and more support for students who we consider to be first-generation students, meaning that at least one of their parents did not achieve a four-year degree, low-income eligibility students, and students that we consider to be disabled. And we tell them that can be a physical or an academic disability. And so with TRIO programs, they've been going on since, I believe, 1965. And so it is something that is very, very rich in trying to support and give students that academic support that they need to either transfer to a four-year school or successfully receive a degree and or a certificate to go directly into the workforce. But as for myself, my background in Trio, I actually started right out of college, you guys, and guess what? I started teaching, and I know it may sound crazy, teaching the language of German during a 6-week summer component for the Trio
Whoa.
Upward Bound program up from in Huntsville, Alabama. And so it was on my resume. And so this is why I even coach students. I say, don't discount anything. I put at the bottom of my resume that I knew the language of German. At that time, the 6-week summer component, they were looking for a foreign language instructor. And so they was like, hey, Missy Mabel, can you teach German? I was like, I was pretty fluent in it at that time. I was like, sure. And that's what got me in the door with Trio programs. Didn't know anything about Trio at that time. Both of my parents are educators, so I'm definitely not a first generational student. But when I took on the task of teaching German, they hired me again to do it the next summer. And from there, they offered me an opportunity to be what they called back then the education curriculum specialist for the Upward Bound program. From
Wow.
there, I went on, got an opportunity opportunity to work in student support services, as back then, as they called the academic advisor, was able to operate in that role for about 7.5 years until, unfortunately, at that institution, the grant was not renewed. And so about 10 years later, I decided to continue to work with different local colleges, being a professional development coordinator. And that's where I will go and recruit different college students, and I will bring them to local companies and prepare them and teach them how to be an intern. And from there, teach them soft skills and do mock interviews and prepare them to either possibly get hired with that company and or move on to further their career professionally. And then somehow I ended up back in Mobile, Alabama. Mobile is my hometown, Port City. If you know anything about Mobile, we are the originators of Mardi Gras, and Port City is such a place that's rich in culture. And so I told myself I was never coming back to Mobile. Never say never, you guys. Ended up back here. They had a position open at Bishop State, and somehow I ended up in the role as being their project director of student support services. And so being in this role as a director has been so rewarding and at times challenging. But at the end of the day, the goal and the focus has never changed. That is to support students on their academic journey. That's when it's good days, is when it's bad days, and to make sure that they can be a success. And that's either getting that degree and or transferring successfully to a four-year institution. So that's a little bit about my background when it comes to how I ended up in higher ed. So that's how I kind of have about over 15 years of experience working in higher education. I have a high passion for young adults, for youth, and for college students. I think that's kind of like my colleagues say, Miss Emanuel, that's your bread and butter. Because at the end of the day, I tell my students, don't be like Miss Emanuel back in the day. I changed my major 5 times. And my mom was like, girl, listen, I need you to figure out what you want to do.
That's a lot of time.
Yeah, I changed my major 5 times. And by the time I was a junior, she said, listen, you need to figure out what you want to do. But because unfortunately I wasn't in a program like TRIO, or I didn't have an ongoing advisor, I was just lost in the wind and lost in the balance. And so one of my passionate goals is trying to help a student navigate on their journey to be able to choose the career path that they're not only passionate about, but what I feel like that their purpose to be able to obtain and walk into. And that's something we can get into later on when it comes to, helping a student choose their career that they are purposed for. And so with my background in higher ed and career and life coaching, I just feel like I take all of those gifts and all of those passions and I try to pour into our students and serve them. Serve them to make sure that they can be an academic and career success when they graduate and or transfer.
And I love that, because what people don't understand from the outside looking in is that as educators, we are in a service role. Like, we aim to serve the students, we aim to inspire them. Something that you said in the beginning of your answer is you all provide moral support. So it's not only academic, obviously academic is extremely important. We want students to graduate with a high GPA, but at the same time, they are human. And so giving them that moral support, understanding that we are here to serve them, and then also helping to guide them along the right path so they can understand that they are going through college not only so they can get a degree and get a job, but it's to help lead them along their purpose. I think that's really powerful, Ms. Terry. And you are 100% a difference maker. And part of the reason for this podcast is to inspire and motivate difference makers. And what you said also is that when you put at the bottom of your resume that you teach German, you put at the bottom because you didn't think it was significant, but something that seemed insignificant, something that seemed small, it was the entry point for you to end up where you are now. And I just think that's very, very powerful, and it's something that difference makers should know, and students as well. And you mentioned that your parents are educators, and now you are in this field. And so what did their impact do to you, seeing them as educators, having them pour into you on a daily basis? How did that inspire and motivate you?
Absolutely. Like I mentioned, both of my parents were educators. My father, we had to make him retire. He retired after being an educator for 41 years as a 6th grade, math and science teacher. And my mother was an educator for middle school. She taught a foreign language, French, and she taught language arts and English and reading. And so, one thing again that I was able to witness with my parents as a little girl, of course, I was at my mom's school sometime, I was at my dad's school. And so I watched how they serve students. Not only that, I watched how even after hours, how sometimes on the weekend, my father would go and pick the young men up and take them to Boy Scouts, different sessions. My mom sometimes would take the girls to etiquette class. Now this is way back in the day, okay? And so again, that moral support, that treating a student from a holistic way. And so I witnessed that. And so all I know is to serve not only young people, but just to serve people in general.
Can I this is powerful because I want the people who are watching to notice something. Now, I'm 100% sure your parents have said a lot of important things to you, but everything you just recalled are things that you have watched, that you have seen them do. And there's a quote that I love that says, "More is caught than is taught." Right? And so people who are behind you are catching what you do by watching, and when their words align with their actions, that's what's most powerful. And you're here recalling the things that you saw them do, and that's the thing that's giving you the motivation and inspiration. And then now, here in your role as an educator, I'm very curious to know what's something most people don't see or understand about the work you do, because people might see you from the outside looking in. It's like, oh, she probably just do paperwork and that's all, or or they probably think you only talk to students all day, and that may not be the case. And so, what is it that people don't see or understand about what you do?
Honestly, what they don't see, Jefferson, they don't see me doing life with the student.
Mm.
And when I say doing life with them, one of maybe I tell people all the time, for my role,
Hmm.
I can have a day plan. I have my little task list. I can have a day plan. But in Trio, I feel like because of the demographic of students that we serve, remember, we're serving students, they're the first one out of their family to break that barrier and go to college. They're
Yeah.
coming from a low income, background. So one, they may be dealing with food insecurity. Some could even be dealing with homelessness. Some could be
Mm.
dealing with dynamics where they are the main breadwinner in their family and they're taking care of their siblings. And they're trying to get an education. But here's the thing.
Hmm.
Majority of my time is spent as a trio director and just as an educator is pouring into the student, making sure that mentally, emotionally, that they are okay. Because I tell students
Mm.
all the time, if your home life is chaotic, then that bleeds over into your academic life. And so
Hmm.
one of the things that we really try to focus on within my program at Bishop State, we just don't see them as a number. Each trio program, we have to serve a certain amount of students. So at Bishop State, we are funded to serve 140 students. Well,
Yeah.
out of those 140 students, we see them throughout the whole year. When they come
Hmm.
into my office, it's just not about academic. After we get through the academic part, we ask them, as they're willing to, share with me a little bit about your life. And as they
Yeah.
begin to share about their life, then I get to see where they're passionate about. And then we also get to see some of their struggles. And so as we learn about them, as they open up, as they're vulnerable, and then we take that and we help guide them, on their academic journey. And
Yeah.
so one thing that I have learned that a lot of people don't see, they see the graduation awards, they see the transformation, but they don't see when the 18-year-old student comes in my office and say, "Miss Emanuel, I'm pregnant and the father wants nothing to do with me. I'm going to drop out because I have no support." And then we say, "No, no, 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 no.
Mm.
We're here's some resources that we are going to give you, okay? And then we're going to continue to walk with you through this
Wow.
journey." And that is a real testimony. That's a testimony that I experienced at a college that I worked at in Huntsville, Alabama. And the
Yeah.
testimony of that student went on and
Mhm.
she became a teacher of the year in the school system. Not
Woo!
once, but twice. Okay. She
Wow.
has a degree higher than me. She's right now working on her doctoral degree, and she has
Wow.
been considered to be a superintendent of the city and the county that she is
Woo-hoo!
in. And I tell people, think about it.
Yeah.
If when she walked in my office and if we would have let her go and say, sure, go ahead and drop out, again, being a difference maker. It's putting the title of being a trio director or academic advisor aside and said, hey, I care about you as a person. How can I support you to the best of my ability to
Mm-hmm.
continue on this academic journey so you can be a success? So this is why in the trio world we use the hashtag trio works, because it's bigger than advising, taking them to an cultural enrichment activity, taking them on a 4-year campus visit, making sure that they are enrolled in the appropriate courses, but it's also doing life with them. And so I believe that's what a lot of people don't see on the outside. They see the end result, but they don't see the crushing. They don't see the times when it's like an olive. You get the beautiful oil that's just so beautiful, but you don't know that olive has to be crushed in order to get the best oil. So I look at a lot of my students of like olives. When they come into my office, I see that I kind of have to give them a little pressure to give them some accountability, but at the same time, I see them semester after semester going on journeys, and then some we do lose some. Now let's just be honest,
Mm-hmm.
but majority of those they either come back or we check on them to see if they continue on another path that was not in education. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, people don't see trio programs doing life with students. And so when you see the transformation story on the other side, they don't see what happened behind doors. They don't see when they were getting ready to give up. They don't see where we had to stand in a gap and be an advocate for them to do a student academic appeal. They did
Yeah.
not see us fighting for them and trying to make sure that they do what they need to do to finish that just a course successfully. So
Mm-hmm.
again, people don't see us doing life with them and showing them that we care and providing them with the resources that they need to be successful, not only as a student, but in life as well.
Listen, I know what it's like to be a low income student. I know what it's like to be a first generation student. I know what it's like to walk the halls of a university campus knowing that I have an opportunity that my parents did not have. I know what it's like to carry the weight and the burden of an entire generation on my back. I know what that's like, and I know it's heavy. But one thing I do know as well is that if I could do it, then you most definitely could do it. My name is Jefferson Noël, and I am a strategic speaker. I believe in the importance of educating, empowering, and entertaining our students because they need to absorb every single word. And that's why I believe I am the best person to come and speak with your students. If you're interested, I encourage you to go on my website at jeffnoelspeaks.com, or you can send me a message on LinkedIn. Let's talk. Wow, that is powerful. And I would love one day to interview the student that you spoke about because that's very inspirational. And, you know, I know a lot of college students, they get a bad rep for telling sob stories just so they can get out of a paper. But,
Right.
it's true. But a lot of students, they are actually going through a lot of pain, a lot of uncomfortability, a lot of rejection, a lot of denial. And to have someone like you standing in the gap for them, interceding for them, ensuring that they go along the right path, doing everything you can to ensure that their lives are better when they leave the room than when they walked in. I think that's very, very powerful. And I'm curious to know because you have this big heart, and I'm curious, what is a model you live by? What is something, some words, a phrase, a verse, or something that you live by that gives you the inspiration to keep going?
Yes, I have a colleague by the name of Rashida Solis, and we've worked together for years in a professional development world with college students. And one motto that she will go by, and I take it with her. I say, "Hey, girl, I'm taking your little motto," but and she states, "Build relationships now and do business later."
You got to
I
say that
can't
again
take
for
that.
the
That's
people in
not
the
Miss
back.
Terrence. That's Miss Rashida Solis.
Uh-huh.
She says she lives by the motto,
Yeah.
build relationships now and do business later. So for me in academia, I say build relationships now, okay? And not only do business later, but also make sure that their academia is on track, making sure that their life is on track. Because if I, again, not treat them as a number, but treating them as a student holistically, okay?
Yeah.
And so if they just come in my office, I'm like, okay, well, here's your schedule, da 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 da. Okay, I need to see you at the workshop. And if I don't build that relationship, remember when I told you at the beginning of this podcast that when a student come in, I say, hey, share with me a little bit about your life as you are comfortable, okay? And they're never pressured. It is not mandatory. But 9 times out of 10, they just start spilling everything, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I've learned by that motto, by my colleague, you build a relationship now. Well, what does that do? That opens up trust, okay? That opens up, a relational dynamic. Whereas when I'm not doing well, I need to go and speak to Miss Emanuel. When I'm doing well, I want to go and share with Miss Emanuel. So again, it's not about trying to get them across the stage number wise. It's trying to get them across the stage and to transfer to a 4-year school in a transformational way. And so, like you said, they can go off and say, if it wasn't for the TRIO program, and I'm no saint, but it was Miss Emanuel or it was Dr. Little, that's my old director, that motivated me. I always tell people, one person has the power to shift the trajectory of a student. One person, one person. And
Mm-hmm.
my story was my dean of the sociology department. I was
Yeah.
about to be done. I told y'all, my mom was like, girl, figure out what you're going to do. I had changed my major
Mm-hmm.
5 times. And he pulled me in my office and he said, Miss Emanuel, can I speak to you? I said, sure. He said, I know I'm not your advisor, but he said, I see that you do really well on my psychology and sociology exams. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even realize I was doing that well. And he said, have you ever considered going into a field of social work or counseling or advice?
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at me. I was a shy, well, I wasn't shy, but I was a little timid with my teachers. I was a 20,
Uh-huh.
21-year-old, and he looked at me. He said, I can see you academically advising and coaching students. Never was on my radar. Never, because I still was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And
Mm-hmm.
I took that with me. And he said, you should continue on the psychology track. He said, because in psychology, it's all about learning the mind of people and helping people. So he said
Mm-hmm.
it's very broad. So he said you can get you can get a career in education, you can get it in human services, you can get it in the medical field. He was like, it's so broad. He said, because I see that you're multi-talented. And so, because of that one conversation from the dean of the sociology department, he wasn't even my advisor. I took that with me. And when I graduated, I remember what he said. And so, again, it took that one advisor to see something in me and to shift me into something that here it is almost now 20 years later, I'm
Yeah.
operating in the very thing that he saw in me. And so, because of that, when students come in my office and they all over the place, because I get it, because I was that girl, so many talents, so gifted, can do so many things. I try to figure out what I could see them moving forward in that they are purpose for.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is
And
good.
so, yeah, and so with that, I say, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, Mr. Manuel, I never thought about this. Well, let's put you on this curriculum track, and then the student will come back like, oh my gosh, I love truck driving, or oh my gosh, I love, computer science. And so again, it's trying to figure out, where the student can be
Mm-hmm.
successfully, not only in their career, but also in life.
This is powerful because many times when we think of what it means to go above and beyond, because those words sound big, above and beyond, we
Yeah,
think
yeah.
above and beyond is some grand gesture. He put together this amazing event, and I walked in and I saw the stage and I saw a singer, whatever. And we think
Right,
that's above
right,
and
right.
beyond. But above and beyond could be a short conversation. Above and beyond could be, let me pull you aside in the hallway and just have a quick. That's above and beyond. And
That's
that
good.
completely transformed your thinking and that helped to nudge you in the direction that you're in right now. And I think that's beautiful. And that's something that us educators, the people who are constantly pouring into the students have to think about because sometimes it may not even be the students that we directly serve that we impact. Yes, they're being impacted, but sometimes it's their friends. Like for example, my current videographer, he was a student at the university that I used to teach at. I never saw him a day in my life while he was a student, and is now he's my videographer. He was like, Professor Noel, I used to see you all the time, right? And I was like, you used to see me all the time? I was like, what? And and he said, I used to watch you from afar. Your students used to speak a lot about you, and an impact was made, and he never sat in my class. And the people that you are impacting, yes, they are in your trio program, but I'm sure a lot of people you're impacting as well are not in trio as well. And so I am delighted to hear how that dean impacted you, and it's a little insight into how you are impacting others. And now we only have a few minutes left, and I would love for you to share any last thing that's on your mind, something you would like to share with the world, share with the difference makers who are listening, who are watching. What is one thing you would like to share?
One thing that I would like to share in a way that I like to encourage, my fellow colleagues, and especially people who are operating with college students and or underrepresented students. Okay, one thing I tell, and it's three simple words. You won't believe what it is.
Mm,
Keep showing up.
keep showing up. Keep.
Keep showing up. Why, Miss Terry? Why do you say keep showing up? Okay. As
Hmm.
an educator, just like you said, it's more than just, we all know educators are all underpaid. Okay?
Hmm.
We're all underpaid, all right?
Hmm.
Because we're the coach, we're the mom, we're the auntie, we're the uncle, we're the father figure, we're the brother, we're the big sister, we're everything, all
Hmm.
wrapped up, and we're the teacher, and we're the academic advisor, and we are the professor. So we play several roles within our students, just for one student to be a success, right? And
Yep.
so one thing I've learned as an educator, and I love being transparent, Jefferson. Some
Hmm.
days I get up, I don't feel like going.
Mm.
I'm not, I'll just wake up and I'll say, I'm not here for it today. I'm not feeling it. And my colleagues at my current institution at Bishop State, they will tell you, like, and another thing, not only just keep showing up, but have a body of colleagues that you can be vulnerable with.
Mm.
Okay. And so I will go into the office a little early, and there's a Miss May, how you doing? Today is just not, I'm not feeling it today. I never say today is a bad day or not a good day, because I
Mm.
believe your words have power. But I will say, y'all, I'm not feeling it today,
Yep.
and so I really don't feel like being here today. And within that, of course, my colleagues will come around me and they will encourage me. Okay.
Yep.
And they will remind me of why I am called to do the work to serve our students. And so, but if I take those emotions, if I take those feelings and I keep calling in and I keep having an excuse, because I got time, I'm not, again, please take a moment of self care, okay? And
Hmm.
take your personal days, because Miss Terry takes her personal days, all right? Take your personal days. Use wisdom, educators, okay? Use wisdom, all right? But here's the thing. Keep showing up even when you don't feel like it. Because again, we are called to be difference makers.
Mm.
And it's the one moment in the one day that you show up, that one student, and I always got a story for everything. I had a student literally last week. I did not feel like being at work.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at work and he was just wandering the hall. I was going to the bathroom. And I said, hey, so and so. I said, you okay? He said, yeah, I'm good. And I can sense. I said, come in my office and, just holler at me for a second.
Mm-hmm.
He walked in there and he said, can I close the door? I said, sure. Black male. Black males, or just male in general, it's hard for them to open up.
Yep.
And that young man, he absolutely just let it out.
Wow.
Completely just broke down. As a person in general, I never would have expected that from him, because he'd be always put together and very, very cordial, very, very respectful. But that young man, he just broke and let it out. And here's the thing that he said to me. He
Hmm.
said, Miss Emanuel, he said, I came up here just because, I don't know why. Something just led me to come up here. Well,
Wow.
we already know what that something is.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, when I saw you walk by heading to the restroom, he
Hmm.
said, if Miss Emanuel can keep showing up, And I know, because I tell my life, I tell my students, I'm a divorced single mother. I'm helping to take care of my elderly parents. I run a ministry on the side, and I'm always doing. And because I'm vulnerable, I share my life story with my students at the beginning of every year. So my students know my life story outside of being just their director. But he said to me, he said, I know all the things that you endure. And he said, and if Miss Emmanuel can keep showing up, then surely I can keep showing up.
My God.
So that is my encouragement to all educators in just whatever role that you're playing. Keep showing up, because your presence, it may not even you doing the work, just your presence can be the difference maker. Your voice could be the difference maker. Your gift and your talents could be the difference maker.
Yeah.
So keep showing up, you guys.
Woo! I love it. I love it. I love it. Keep showing up. And what's something that's so beautiful about what you just said? Many times we see the fall semester as the big time, the time where everybody shows up, where there's the most students on campus, and we think of the fall and we think of the spring, and we just consider summer as the planning season.
Yeah.
But the fact that you are making a difference in the lives of students, even during the summer, you are staying open, you are staying active, you are willing to continue to meet with those students through this busy season of preparing for the fall. That just shows how much you care. That shows how much you are making an impact, and keep showing up. I love it. I love it. Miss Terry, it has been a pleasure to have you as a guest on a Difference Makers podcast. You are truly transforming Bishop State, and you will continue to impact the students, and they will go out and change the world. And to the people who are listening, who are watching, I encourage you to keep showing up, as Ms. Terry said, because you don't even realize how much of an impact you are making. And so I encourage you to keep showing up. Again, my name is Professor Noël. I teach at FIU. I am a speaker as well. If you would love for me to come to your school to have a conversation with your students, to impact them, to empower them, you can find me on LinkedIn. My name is Jefferson Noël on LinkedIn. And also you can visit me on my website at Jeff Noël Speaks as well, at jeffnoelspeaks.com. So again, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time, because remember, we are difference makers, and we will continue to make a difference in the lives of our students. Thank you very much.